just one barrel. Oh.
As a second generation battleship of the United States Navy, the USS Nevada has been described as revolutionary and as radical as the HMS Dreadnought was in her day by present-day historians. At the time of the ship's commission in 1916, the New York Times remarked that the new warship was the greatest battleship afloat because she was so much larger than other contemporary American battleships. Her displacement was nearly 3 times that of the obsolete 1990's pre-dreadnought Oregon, almost twice that of the 1904 battleship Connecticut, and almost 8,000 long tons greater than that of one of the first American dreadnoughts, Delaware, built just 7 years prior to the battleship Nevada. Nevada was the first battleship in the United States Navy to have triple gun turrets, a single funnel, and an oil-fired steam-powered plant. In particular, the use of the more effective oil gave the ship an advantage over earlier coal-fired plants. Nevada was also the first United States battleship with geared turbines, which also helped increase fuel economy and thus range compared to greater direct drive turbines. The ability to steam great distances without refueling was a major concern of the General Board at the time. In 1908, the board felt all American battleships should have a minimum steaming radius of 6,000 nautical miles, so that the United States could enforce the Monroe Doctrine. One of the main purposes of the Great White Fleet, which sailed around the world in 1907 through 1908, was to prove to Japan that the United States could carry any naval conflict into Japanese home waters. Possibly as a result of this, battleships after 1908 were mainly designed to steam 8,000 miles at cruising speeds, giving the distance between San Pedro, where the fleet would be based, and Malin, where the fleet was expected to have fight under War Plan Orange, was 6,550 nautical miles. Endurance was obviously a major concern for the United States Navy. Also, oil allowed for the boiler room crews to be reduced. The engineer on Delaware estimated that 100 firemen, or stokers, and 112 coal passers could be adequate to replaced by just 24 men, which would allow some cruise quarters to be eliminated. This would save weight and also reduce the amount of fresh water and provisions that the ship would have to carry. In addition to all this, the Nevada had maximum armor over critical areas, such as the magazines and engines, and none over less important areas. Even though previous battleships had armor of various thickness, depending on the importance of the area it was protecting. This radical change became known as the all-or-nothing principle, which most major navies later adopted for their own battleships. With this new armor scheme, the armor on the battleship was increased to 41.1% of its displacement. As a result of these design modifications from previous battleships, Nevada was the first of the United States Navy's standard-type battleships. Standards were characterized by the use of fuel oil the all or nothing armor scheme, and the arrangement of the main armament in 4 triple or twin turrets, without any turrets located in the middle of the ship. The Navy was to create a fleet of modern battleships similar in long range gunnery, speed, turning radius, and protection. Nevada was followed by 11 other battleships of this type, although significant improvements were made in subsequent designs as naval technology rapidly progressed. In addition, an additional 7 standard type battleships, the USS Washington BB-37 and the 6 of the South Dakota class battleships, were never completed due to the Washington Naval Treaty. The 2 battleships of the Nevada class were virtually identical concept, except for their propulsion. Nevada and her sister ship, the USS Oklahoma, were fitted with different engines to compare the two, putting them head to head. Oklahoma received older vertical triple expansion engines, which had proven more fuel efficient and reliable than the direct drive turbines of some earlier battleships, while Nevada received geared Curtiss steam turbines. Nevada's construction was authorized by an act of Congress on the 4th of March, 1911. The contract went to Ford Shipbuilding Company on the 22nd of January, 1912, for a total of $5,895,000, not including the armor and armament. And the time of construction was originally to be 36 months. A secondary contract was signed on the 31st of July, 1912, for $50,000 to cover the additional cost of a geared cruising unit on each propeller shaft. This also extended the planned construction time by 5 months. Her keel was laid down on the 4th of November, 1912, and by the 12th of August, 1914, the ship was 72.4% complete. The Nevada was launched on the 11th of July, 1914. She was sponsored by Miss Eleanor Ann Sirbert, niece of Governor Tasker Odie of Nevada, and a descendant of the first Secretary of the Navy, Benjamin Stoddert. The launch was attended by several prominent members of the government, including Governor Odie, Governor David I. Walshy of Massachusetts, Senator Key Pittman of Nevada, Secretary of the Navy Joseph Daniels, and Assistant Secretary of the Navy Franklin D. Roosevelt, who would later become the 32nd President of the United States. Nevada then had to undergo many different tests and trials prior to her commissioning to ensure that she met the terms of the original contract. These began on the 4th of November, 1915, when the ship conducted a 12-hour endurance run up and down the New England coast, reaching a top speed of 21.4 knots. Though her expectant trials were interrupted on the 5th of November because of a gale and rough seas. They were continued on the 6th, and a test of her fuel economy. This consisted of a 24-hour run where Nevada steamed at 10 knots. The test results were positive. The oil consumption of the battle wagon was 5 pounds per knot lower than the contract had demanded. Another test was conducted for 12 hours at 15 knots, with an even better result of 10 pounds per knot lower than the contract specifications. After completing all of these tests and running trials off Rockland, Maine, Nevada sailed to Boston, or to the Boston and New York Navy Yards for equipment, torpedo tubes, and ammunition hoists. When all of the preliminaries were completed, Nevada was commissioned on the 11th of March, 1916, at Charleston Navy Yard, and William S. Sims was the first captain of the new ship, followed by Joseph Starris on the 30th of December, 1916. After fitting out in Boston and New York Navy Yards, Nevada joined the Atlantic Fleet in Newport, Rhode Island, on the 26th of May, 1916. Prior to the United States' entry into World War I, she conducted many trailing or training cruises and underwent many exercises out of her base in Norfolk, Virginia, sailing as far south as the Caribbean. On these cruises, the United States entered the war in April of 1917, but Nevada was not yet set to the other side of the Atlantic because of shortages of fuel oil in Britain. Instead, 4 coal-fired battleships of Battleship Division 9, which included the USS Delaware, USS Florida, USS Wyoming, and the USS New York, departed the United States to join the British Grand Fleet. On the 25th of November, 1917, they arrived on the 7th of December and were designated as the 6th Battle Squadron of the Grand Fleet. Texas would later join them after damage from a grounding on Block Island was repaired. She departed on the 30th of January and arrived in Scotland on the 11th of February. It was not until the 3rd of August, or the 13th of August, 1918, that Nevada, then under command of Andrew T. Long, left the United States for Britain, becoming the first American ship to join the fleet overseas. After a 10-day voyage, she arrived in Barrowhaven, Ireland, on the 23rd of August, along with the battleship Utah and her sister ship Battleship Oklahoma. The three were nicknamed the Bantry Bay Squadron. Officially, they were Battleship Division 6, under the commander of Rear Admiral Thomas S. Rogers, who chose Utah as his flagship. For the rest of the war, the 3 ships operated from the bay, escorting the large and valuable convoys bound for the British Isles to ensure no German heavy surface ships could slip past the British Grand Fleet and annihilate the merchant ships and their weak escorts of older cruisers. This never came to pass, and the war ended on the 11th of November, with Nevada, then under command of William Cherry Cole, not getting a chance to engage an enemy during the war. On the 13th of December, 10 battleships, including the Battleship Nevada, and 28 destroyers escorted the ocean liner George Washington, with President Woodrow Wilson embarked into Brest, France. During the last day of Wilson's journey to the country, he could attend the Paris Peace Conference. The flotilla met the George Washington and her escorts, the Pennsylvania, and 4 destroyers, just off Brest, and escorted them into the port. The 10 battleships sailed for home at 1400 hours on the next day, the 14th of December. They took less than 2 weeks to cross the Atlantic and arrived in New York on the 26th of December to parades and celebration. Between the two world wars, Nevada underwent successive commands of Thomas P. Merger, followed by William Dougal McDonald, or McGall, served in both the Atlantic and Pacific fleets, though she had originally been equipped with 21 5-inch, 127mm, 51 caliber guns to defend against enemy destroyers. This number was reduced to 12 in 1918 due to the overly wet bow and stern positions of the other 9. Nevada, then under command of Luke McNee, or McNamee, and with the battleship USS Arizona, represented the United States at the Parvern Convention, or the conventional exploration or exposition in July of 1921. A year later, with Douglas E. Dismas in command, and in company with the battleship Maryland this time, Nevada returned to South America as a escort of the steamer Pan America, with Secretary of State Charles Evans Hughes embarked. Then they all attended the Centennial of Brazilian independence in Rio de Janeiro, celebrated it from the 5th to the 7th of September 1922. The New York Times later credited the cruise in Nevada for bringing baseball and that sport's unique terminology to Brazil, allowing the country to make the Yankee games an institution of their own. At the end of 1922, John M. Luby assumed command. 3 years later, then under command of David W. Todd, Nevada took part in the United States fleet's Goodwill cruise to Australia and New Zealand from July to September of 1925. During this cruise, the ships had only limited replenishment opportunities, but they still made it to Australia and back without undue difficulty. This demonstrated to the Allies and Japan that the United States Navy had the ability to conduct trans-Pacific operations and met the Imperial Japanese Navy in their home waters, where both Japanese and American war plans expected the decisive battle to be fought if it should come. After the cruise, Nevada, with Charles S. Hampuff commanding, put into North Fork Navy Yard to be modernized between August of 1927 and January of 1930. Harry H. Harrell took over command during this period. Work on the ship included exchange of her basket masts for tripod masts, and her steam turbines for those from the recently stricken battleship, the USS North Dakota. These were geared turbines that had been retrofitted to the North Dakota in 1917, replacing her original direct drive turbines to increase her range. Additionally, many different adaptations and additions were made. Her main gun's elevation was increased to 30 degrees, which upped the range of the guns from 23,000 yards to 34,000 yards. Anti-torpedo bulges were added. Her 12 original Yarrow boilers were replaced with 6 more efficient Bureau Express boilers in a new arrangement to accommodate those bulges. 2 catapults were added for 3 Volat O2U-3 Corsair biplane spotter aircraft. 8 5-inch 127mm 25 caliber AA guns were added. A new superstructure was installed, and her 5-inch 127mm 51 cal secondary batteries were relocated above the hull, and in an arrangement similar to that of the New Mexico class. Nevada then served in the Pacific Fleet for the next 11 years. During this time, she was commanded by John H. Holland, William S. Pye, Alpheus Staten, Robert L. Gormley, Claude B. Mayo, Robert Alfred Theobald, and Francis W. Rockwell. On the 6th of September 1941, a Saturday, all of the Pacific Fleet's battleships were in port for the week for the first time since the 4th of July. Normally, they took turns spending time in port. 6 would be out with Vice Admiral William S. Pay's Battleship Task Force 1 one weekend, while the next weekend would find 3, ranging with Vice Admiral William Halsey Jr.'s aircraft carrier task force. However, because Halsey could not afford to take the slow battleships with his fast carriers on his dash to reinforce Wake Island's Marine detachment with fighters, because it was Prey's turn to rest in port, and the harbor was where it was considered safe. None of the battleships were sailing on that morning. When the sun rose over Nevada on the 7th, the battleship's band was playing morning colors, but planes then appeared on the horizon, and the attack on Pearl Harbor began. After the battleship Arizona during the attack, Nevada was not warned alongside another battleship off Ford Island, and therefore she was able to maneuver. Unlike the other 7 battleships present, Commanding Officer Francis W. Scotland was ashore when the attack began. The officer of the deck, Ensign Joe Tasker, son of the admiral at the same time, had earlier that morning ordered a second boiler lid off, planning to switch the power load from one boiler to the other around 0800 hours. As Nevada's guns opened fire and her engine started to raise steam, a single 11-inch 460mm Type 91 Mod 2 torpedo exploded against frame 41, about 14 feet above the keel at 0810. Seconds later, the same Kate torpedo bomber that dropped the torpedo was shot down by Nevada's gunners. The torpedo bulkhead held, but leaking through the joints caused flooding of port side compartments below the first platform deck between frames 30 and 43, and a list of 4 to 5 degrees. Her damage control crews corrected the list by counterflooding, and Nevada went underway at 8:40. Her gunners always having already shot down 4 planes. Ensign Tugas efficiency paid off, likely saving his ship, but he lost a leg in the attack. Nevada became a prime target for Japanese Yale dive bombers during the second wave. Japanese pilots intended to sink her in the canal, ostensibly to block the harbor. Tactically, target section was wrong, as 14 to 18 dive bombers attacking her wouldn't be able to sink a battleship with 250-kilogram bombs, and the channel width of 1,200 of 12,000 feet made bolting up the harbor impossible. As she steamed past 1010 dock at about 9:50, Nevada was struck by 5 bombs, one exploding over the cruise gallery at frame 80. Another struck the port director platform and exploded at the base of the stack on the upper deck. Yet another hit near turret 1 inboard from the port waterway and blew large holes in the upper and main decks. 2 struck the forecastle near frame 15. One passed out through the side of the second deck before exploding, but the other exploded within the ship near the gasoline tank. Leakage and vapors from this tank caused intense fires around the ship. The gasoline fires that flared up around Turret 1 might have caused more critical damage if the main magazines had not been empty. For several days prior to the attack, all the 14-inch gun, or 356mm battleships had been replacing their standard weight main battery projectiles with new heavier projectiles that offered greater penetration and a large explosive charge in exchange for a slight decrease in range. All the older projectiles and powder chargers had been removed from the magazines of the Battleship Nevada, and the crews had taken a break after loading the new projectiles in anticipation of the loading of the new powder charges on Sunday. As bomb damage became evident, the Nevada was ordered to proceed to the west side of Ford Island to prevent her from sinking in deep water. Instead, she was grounded off Hospital Point at 10:30 with the help of Hoga and Averset, though she managed to force it down 3 more planes before she struck the shore. Gasoline fires prevented damage control parties from containing flooding for the main torpedo defense system, flooding the main magazine, and counter-flooding to keep the ship stable, but lowered the bow, allowing water to enter the ship on the second deck level. Lack of watertight subdivision between the second and main decks of frame 30 to frame 115 allowed water to enter their bomb holes in the forecastle to flow aft through the battleship's vertical system to flood the dyno and boiler rooms. Over the course of the morning, Nevada suffered a total of 6 killed and 109 wounded. Or 60 killed and 109 wounded. 2 more men died aboard during salvage operations on the 7th of February 1924 or 1941 when they overcome by hydrogen sulfide gas from decomposing paper and meat. The ship suffered a minimum of 6 bomb hits and 1 torpedo hit, but it is possible that as many as 10 bombs may have been received, as certain damaged areas were of sufficient size to indicate that they had been struck by more than 1 bomb. On the 12th of February 1942, now with Captain Harry L. Thompson commanding, Nevada was refloated and underwent temporary repairs at Pearl Harbor so she could get to Puget Sound Navy Yard for major repairs and modernizations. Then, under command of Captain Howard F. Kingman, the overhaul was complete in October of 1942, and it changed the old battleship's appearance so she slightly resembled a South Dakota from a distance. Her 5-inch 51s and 5-inch 25s were replaced with 16 50 or 5-inch 38 caliber guns and new twin mounts. Nevada, with Captain Willard A. Kitts commanding, then sailed for Alaska, where she provided air support from the 11th to the 15th of May 1943 for the capture of Attu. Nevada then departed for North Fort Navy Yard in June for further modernizations. After completion in mid-1943, Nevada went in Atlantic convoy duty. Old battleships such as Nevada were attached to many convoys across the Atlantic to guard against the chance for a German capital ship might head out to sea on a raiding mission. After completing more convoy runs, Nevada set sail for the United Kingdom to prepare for the Normandy invasion, arriving in April of 1944 with Captain Powell M. Rhea in command. Her floatplane auxiliary observer pilots were temporarily assigned to the VOS or VOS 7 flying Spitfires from the RNAS Lee on Sultan or the HMS Adultleys. She was chosen as Rear Admiral Morton Dio's flagship for the operation. During the invasion, Nevada supported forces ashore from the 6th to the 17th of June, and again on the 25th of June. During this time, she employed her guns against shore defenses in Charlesburg, Pennsylvania, seeming to lean back as she hurled salvo after salvo at the shore batteries. Shells from her guns ranged as far as 17 nautical miles inland, and attempts to break up German concentrations and counterattacks, even though she was straddled by counter battery fire 27 times, though never hit. Nevada was later praised for her incredible accuracy or accurate fire in support of Belgian troops, as some of the targets she hit was just 600 yards from the front line. Nevada was the only battleship present at both Pearl Harbor and the Normandy landings. After D-Day, the Allies headed to Toulon for another amphibious assault, codenamed Operation Dragon. To support this, many ships were sent from the beaches of Normandy to the Mediterranean, including 5 battleships. The United States contributed the Battleship Nevada, the Battleship Texas, the Battleship Arkansas. The British participants were the HMS Ramillies and the Free French Warren and the Free French warship Warren. 3 United States heavy cruisers, Augusta, Tacaloose, and Quincy, and many destroyers and landing craft were transferred south. Nevada supported this operation from the 15th of August to the 25th of September 1944, dueling with Big Wally, a heavily enforced fortress with 4 340mm or 13.4-inch guns and 2 twin turrets. These guns had been salvaged from the French battleship Providence after the scuttling of the French fleet in Toulon. The guns had a range of nearly 19 nautical miles, and they commanded every approach to the port of Toulon. In addition, they were fortified with heavy armor plate embedded into the rock sides of the island of St. Madron. Due to these dangers, the fire support ships assigned to the operation were ordered to level the fortress. Beginning on the 19th of August and continuing in subsequent days, 1 or more heavy warships bombarded it in conjunction with low-level bomber strikes. On the 23rd, a bombardment force headed by Nevada struck the most damaging blow to the fort during a 6.5-hour battle, which saw 354 salvos fired by the battleship Nevada. Toulon fell on the 25th, but the fort, though it was coming apart at the seams, held up for 3 more days. Nevada then headed to New York to have her gun barrels realigned. In addition, the 3 14-inch 45 caliber guns of Turret 1 were replaced with Mark 8 guns formerly on the battleship Arizona in the relining process at the time of Pearl Harbor. These new guns were realigned to Mark 12 specifications. After refitting, and with Captain Horner L. Groskopf commanding, she sailed it for the Pacific, arriving off Iwo Jima on the 16th of February 1945 to prepare prepare the island for invasion with heavy bombardment, which she did through the 7th of March. During the invasion, she moved to be within 600 yards from shore to provide maximum firepower for the troops that were advancing. On the 24th of March, 1945, Nevada joined Task Force 58, or TF-58, the fire support force off Okinawa, as bombardment began prior to the invasion of Okinawa. The ships of Task Force 54 then moved into position on the night of the 23rd and begin their bombardment missions as dawn on the 24th. Along with the rest of the force, Nevada shelled Japanese airfields, shore defenses, supply dumps, and troop concentrations. However, after the fire support ships retired for the night, came dawn upon like thunder when 7 kamikaze attacked the force while it was without air cover. One plane, though hit repeatedly by anti-aircraft guns from the force, crashed into the main deck of the Battleship Nevada next to turret number 3. It killed 11 and wounded 49. It also knocked out both 14-inch 360mm guns in that turret and the three 20mm anti-aircraft weapons. Another 2 men were lost to fire from a shore battery on the 5th of April until the 30th of June. She was stationed off Okinawa. She then departed to join the 23rd Fleet, or the 3rd Fleet, from the 10th of July to the 7th of August, which allowed Nevada to come within range of the Japanese home islands during the closing days of the war, though she did not bombard them. Nevada then, with her final commanding officer, Captain Salkel C. Attu, returned to Pearl Harbor after a brief stint of occupation duty in Tokyo Bay. Nevada was surveyed at 32 and a half years old, was deemed too old to be kept in the post-war fleet. As a result, she was assigned to be a target ship in the first Bikini atomic experiments, or Operation Crossroads, on July of 1946. The experiment consisted of detonating 2 atomic bombs to test their effectiveness against warships. Nevada was the bombarder's target for the first test, codenamed Attu, which used an air-dropped weapon to help distinguish the target from surrounding vessels. Nevada was painted a reddish-orange. However, even with the high visible color scheme, the bomb fell about 170, or about 1,700 yards off targets, exploding above the attack transport Gillam instead. Due in part to the miss, Nevada survived. The ship also remained afloat after the second test. Baker, a detonation some 90 feet below the surface of the water, but was damaged and extremely radioactive from the spray. Nevada was later towed to Pearl Harbor and decommissioned on the 29th of August. After she was thoroughly examined, the battleships Iowa and 2 other vessels used Nevada as a practice gunnery target 65 miles southwest of Pearl Harbor on the 31st of July, 1948. The ships did not sink Nevada, but so she was given a coup de grace with an aerial torpedo hit amidships. On the 11th of May, 2020, it was announced that a joint expedition by Ocean Infinity with its ship, the Pacific Consecrator, and the Operations Center of Search, Inc., headed by Dr. James Dugol, had discovered Nevada's wreck. Nevada is located at a depth of 15,400 feet off the coast of Hawaii, and about 65 nautical miles southwest of Pearl Harbor. The wreck lies upside down, with the main hull carrying the scars of the shell fire and torpedo hits. Nearby is a large debris field with the turrets, which fell off the ship as she capsized, and the bow and stern, both of which were torn free. Archaeologists also documented the two tripod masts, portions of the bridge, sections of the deck and superstructure, and one of four tanks, a M26 piercing, placed on the deck for the atomic bomb tests. The hull was still painted, and the number 36 was visible on the stern. One of the former Arizona guns, mounted on Nevada, is paired with a gun formerly on the Battleship Missouri at Leslie Bowen Memorial Plaza, just east of Arizona State, just east of the Arizona State Capitol complex in downtown Phoenix, Arizona. It is part of a memorial representing the start and the end of the Pacific War for the United States. A large model of the ship survives today in Los Angeles and often appears at local parades. And that concludes today's video. If you guys enjoyed it, please do go hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. I hope you guys learned something about this magnificent warship today. If you guys did, please take to the comment section and tell me what you guys learned, or if you guys have any questions, concerns, or requests for a future video or about a video. Come join the Discord server. Link is, as always, in the description. And with that being said, again, I thank everybody for tuning in, and I shall see you all in the next video. Peace out.